there are a number of stories that we have to get to for Wrestling Wrap because another extended edition of that. So we've been talking too long. Gabby, give us some news.
Well, get ready for more talking because this is Wrestling Wrap, but we got all the news and hot topics of the week for you. And there's a lot still. So this week for April 26th, we do know that an anonymous person, who will not be named, we do not know who this person is, probably for the safety of their own job as well, had put in an urgent request to Orange County's Board of County Commissioners this past Tuesday to shut down WWE's taping at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, concerns regarding coronavirus. They actually have an audio file of this meeting where you guys can go online and listen to it. I know John Alba on Twitter at JONALBA posted it. And this person put in their request saying this complaint: my employer, World Wrestling Entertainment, aka WWE, is forcing me to work the TV tapings for its weekly shows despite home orders for coronavirus. I'm unable to speak out as I need this job, and I know I will be fired if I approach my higher-ups. And despite sanitary precautions, we cannot maintain social distancing and have to touch other people. I request the government to shut down these tapings and enforce the stay-at-home order so my colleagues and I may follow social distancing rules without fear or repercussion of losing our jobs. Now, the WWE provided a statement to follow that up with, these accusations aren't true. Employees know that they can confidently go to human resources, not the public. Notwithstanding the appropriate protocol, no one would be fired if they were uncomfortable with their surroundings. We've made accommodations for individuals upon request. Now, this is obviously a very big deal. Do you guys think that if this person named John Smith, I'm just giving you a random name, who filed this complaint with the Orange County Commissioner, do you think that if they actually would have went to WWE Human Resources, that they wouldn't have been fired over this?
Can I answer your question by asking a question?
Yes.
Have any of you ever gone to Human Resources to complain about something from your boss, and then realized after you went it got worse? Because I have.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
Them saying go to Human Resources is the most hilarious thing that I have ever heard. Because every company has a human resource department, and a lot of them are very needed and very useful for a lot of areas. One area, in my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, because I've had personal experience with it, that they do not help in, is if I went, Gabby, if you're the human resource person and Tom's my boss, I'm going to you and be like, look, Tom has been abusing his power. He's been ordering me to do things that I don't feel are safe, et cetera, et cetera. What's going to happen is you're going to write a report. You're then going to send it over to Tom or to Bryant, who will say is Tom's boss. They'll get the information and be like, hey, this was done about you. But then Tom comes back because it's supposed to stay anonymous, so he doesn't know technically who it's from. So Tom is either going to completely change his ways altogether for everyone, or he's going to be angrier because he wants to try to find out who's the one who did it and got him in trouble.
Oh, I'm going to find out it's you. You're done.
Right. And if you think a place like WWE would not, like, someone reports to HR in WWE, HR has a talk with Triple H about, hey, you got this complaint about you. I just need you to be aware. Do you really think he's not going to go and find out who the hell it is and get their ass in more trouble in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. I just think it's good. It's just I don't know, man. It's just weird and it's just all crappy. Like, there's no good way around it. There's no, like, oh, well, we could fix it by doing this. Like, there's just, it sucks. I mean, I think what is going to happen and what really sucks about what's happening now is that all these states are going to start opening.
Mm-hmm.
All these jobs that are going to be considered that were non-essential before are going to be like, nope, you got to come to work, but are we safe to come to work yet? We don't know. And then either people go, oh, I'm not coming to work, and then they go, okay, well then you don't have a job anymore. Your job is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we'll find someone else to replace you. I don't know. It's just like it's just a cluster is what's happening, and it just I don't really know where we go from here when we're still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah,
So
Brian,
it just sucks when something's deemed essential, but it's really not essential. Like, so.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. I mean, I've been in the HR position as well, being on the HR side of it, and I know that it definitely is a tricky situation, especially with something like this, a crisis. You know, you don't really know how to address it. So I'm sure WWE is trying their best to, like, you know, to be open. But obviously, if you're in that employee's shoes, you don't feel comfortable at risking the possibility of losing your job. You know, so it's just like Tom said, a whole weird situation that hopefully gets resolved. And we talked about it before. We're not sure why they're still taping. I mean, they're trying to give entertainment to the world, but it's just strange. I don't know.
Yeah. I've always been told from my time working in corporate that you should never go above your boss's head first. Like, the first course of action is to, like, speak to your superior and try to work it out. And then if it can't be solved, then you go take the next step to avoid all of that mess and commotion. But at the same time, this person obviously feels like his job or her job would be at jeopardy and is scared. And so I don't blame them, because, like, in entertainment, I think the rules are a little bit different. I think in entertainment, I know it's not admitted enough, but I think that people lose their jobs more easily over very stupid things. And because you're a face of a company, you're a big brand, and, like, these entertainment companies have a lot of power, and they just feel like they could do whatever they want, and it's not always, like, in the best interest of the talent or the producer, whatever. So it's a tricky space, because although they might say, you know, you will not get fired if you go to human resources first, that's not necessarily always the truth, in my opinion. So it's hard. It's hard to say. So next up, in other news, we do know that a former XFL commissioner, Oliver Luck, is suing Vince McMahon for wrongful termination. So this is the order of events that took place. Essentially, Vince McMahon is the CEO of Alpha Entertainment, which is the parent company of the XFL. Now, right before Vince had laid off his employees and declared bankruptcy for XFL, he actually sent a letter to the CEO for termination. And so that letter was received on April 9th. And it was literally a day before all those layoffs. And so Mr. Luck is disputing this and rejecting the allegations set forth in the termination letter, and contends that they are pretextual and devoid of merit, according to his complaint that he filed with the U.S. District Court in Connecticut. And he was actually a part of this $20 million deal, this huge deal with Vince McMahon that was set in place in May of 2018. And so this is a lot to lose for him, you know? And obviously it was, like, premeditated. He was let go right before this all went down, within days. And so this was a statement actually from Vince McMahon. And he said, you know, his parent company, Oliver Luck services as commissioner and CEO of the XFL were terminated by a letter sent to him on April 9th, 2020, which explained the reasons for the termination. And then Jerry McDevitt of K&L Gates, which represents McMahon, right? That was also from them too. As to the lawsuit he filed, his allegations will be disputed, and the position of Mr. McMahon will be set forth in a response to his lawsuit. Now, do you guys feel like this CEO of the XFL, or former XFL, Commissioner Oliver Luck, do you think that he has the rights to sue Vince McMahon? Do you think he will win in this lawsuit against Vince McMahon? What's your opinions on what's going on with this situation?
I would say, just to play like devil's advocate, I think that in light of certain circumstances, yes, because we know that things were kind of weird with the company. But if this was any other situation and we didn't have those layoffs, if the XFL was the first to go, it would make a lot of sense. You know, it's their newest thing. They don't even know if it really took off the ground. And if they had to cut some kind of arm of their company to save profit or to save money, then that would make sense, you know, especially the CEO, who would probably be very high paid for this brand new entire league, you know. So I think it makes sense. It's definitely not ethical business practices, but it's something to consider, that considering all these layoffs, it makes sense that he was one of the first people to go. I mean, I hope he does win, because he does have a lot at stake, so we'll see.
What about you guys?
Tom, you go first.
I don't know. They always say, like, what is it, like, any press is good press, but I mean, the press has been so bad lately for just Vince and this company and anything like associated with it. So it's kind of just like, oh, here's another thing that you got to deal with. I think if anything, they'll settle out of court. He'll get some of his money, probably not all of it. But I think I did read an article that said, like, he had some other job before. I can't exactly remember what his job was, but it was kind of like Vince was like, oh, I'll guarantee to pay you this money if you leave this other job. And then he was like, okay, cool, I'll leave this job because I'm going to get this other money. And then, like, the second things start to kind of turn, they're like, nope, sorry, you're done, bye. Like, days before. And, like, I think they sent him a letter saying he did something wrong, too, or something. Like, for his, like, wrongful term, like, whatever the wrongful termination. So it's like, I think it's just like, all right, let's try to find something to get rid of him so we can say, like, oh, he did this wrong, and now we don't have to pay him anymore.
Yeah, you mean like they were covering their butts. So
Yeah.
they said, you did this, we're terminating you. So that he couldn't fire back at them and say, this is wrongful lawsuit, even though that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
All right,
He'll get his money. Don't worry.
I'm excited to talk about this because being that I'm the sports nut, so this all falls in this. So Oliver Luck is a former professional athlete, and he is the father of former NFL star quarterback Andrew Luck, who made hundreds of millions of dollars while he was in the NFL. The guy doesn't need the money. He left his other sports job for this offer to be the commissioner of the XFL. A commissioner of any sports league cannot just immediately get fired. It has to be done by a vote from the owners. And it has to be, some sports it's majority, some sports it's unanimous. So the fact that Vince, just on a whim, because they're trying to cut costs, just said, no, you're fired, where any other sport organization, I understand this is a new one, it was first year back, so it's not like the NFL or any NBA or anything like that, 100% true there. But none of them fired their commissioners or their general managers or their coaches or their board of directors to save money. So the fact that he's doing this just shows that A, he knows nothing about professional sports. Obviously knows plenty about sports entertainment, but not necessarily sports, how they work. And B, the fact that he's only asking for the $20 million that his contract was for, Vince should be delighted about. Because this should be even more. Because of the court costs, the mental anguish, whatever, a lawyer will spring up. So he better get his money for this. And I kind of, in a weird, selfish way, hope other people that were maybe on XFL board, if they received similar letters, they joined in on this. Because it was wrongful termination, as it was stated.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I know you mentioned, Josh, that he doesn't need this money, but who at his place in life needs that kind of money? He wants it, of course.
Well, sure.
He invested. Of course, he deserves it as well. He invested his time.
I mean,
this is his position. And he wants to get that money he was promised back. And I don't blame him, or severance for that matter, for like being put in a position where he wasn't part of that decision making to probably lay off the company, like the employees of the company, and then file bankruptcy. Usually you would include your commissioner in that kind of a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Also,
if he wins
it's
and he's
not
looking for a
like
sugar baby, let me know.
What's your info? Put it out there.
Yeah.
he has to watch to the end of the show to get his
Yeah.
keep watching. But I also feel like it's also he was the commissioner. It's not like he worked at a grocery store or it's not like he can turn around and go, "Hey, NFL, let me be the commissioner now. Get rid of Goodell." You know what I mean? Like
they can't exactly do that.
So it's not like you can just there's commissioner jobs all over the place unless maybe he can be the commissioner of Raw.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. All right, well, next up in news. Are you guys ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate to burst the bubble of the commenter from actually, I think it was the AfterBuzz page that said that I sounded stupid for talking about the stock market and WWE's making process by laying off these employees. Well, looks like I'm not the stupid one here because WWE reports booming profit and sales after furloughing wrestlers and stock jumps. And I totally called this when we talked about this last week.
At least you're not bitter about a negative comment.
I'm not bitter about it, but here we see the results a week later. So here it goes. WWE stock is positive 14.64% in a jump from 14.6% Friday after it reported the fiscal first quarter net income of $26.2 million. So you guys, they're seeing jumps in the stock market for each share, and this is obviously making their investors happy, like I originally talked about. So every decision WWE is making right now is so that they can keep their corporate executive people happy. And so I just want to go over a few of these numbers here. So the revenue improved 60% to a record $291 million from $182.4 million a year ago. Analysts surveyed by FactSet had expected earnings of 26 cents a share on sales of $272 million. Now, right now, I think it's up 31 cents a share from a loss of 11 cents from that year ago quarter. Some other interesting stuff is that McMahon and interim chief financial officer Frank Riddick III downplayed the impact of coronavirus in a conference call Thursday afternoon, saying a paucity of live sports events led to a record 967 million video views of its annual WrestleMania event on April 4th through 6th. And they also put out the statement, McMahon put out the statement, "We've adapted our business model in new ways." That's to cut costs, obviously, and offset the economic impact of COVID-19. He also said this is a challenging environment and we need to think of doing things differently, which could mean more movies, original programming on the WWE network, and cable television, thematic tape presentations of wrestling matches, he added. Now, do you guys think that Vince McMahon will be expanding these properties? Will he be doing more since the live events are obviously not necessarily live at the current moment? Will he be shooting more movies or other things to compensate for what they're not able to produce at the Performance Center on a normal scale?
The only thing that I hope comes out of all this is if they're still showing that they're making more money, then let's have fewer house shows so the wrestlers are not wrestling as much and have more time at home. If they're showing proof that they don't necessarily need all the people to wrestle 4 or 5 nights a week to make this money, then don't have them do it. That will extend their careers for long, so the company could make more money off of them. They would make more money because they'd wrestle longer and they'd have more time at home. If they will do that from learning from this, fine. That's my main takeaway from that.
For sure.
Well, I did see a thing where it said it was from that meeting where I think Vince was like, "Yeah, our live events is going to be way different after this." But also the fact is they try to run 15,000 seat arenas where for Raw, SmackDown, that's okay because but for house shows, like, why are they not running the NXT route of like, let's just do smaller buildings. We'll get, 2,000 people in here, and at least if people show up, it'll feel like, oh my God, wow, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
Feel crowded at least, and not tarping off half an arena just to say that they're at Staples, yet half the arena's tarped off. Like, what's the point of that? I don't get that part. I mean, I just want to say, sorry, I need one thing that kind of, when Gabby, you were talking about them, like, touting the success of WrestleMania and how it was the most social media WrestleMania yet. It annoys me because I get you're trying to say, like, hey, something really big good happened, but guess what? We're in some really crappy times, and your WrestleMania being 2 nights was the only thing on TV for those 2 nights. So, like, you can't say that, like, oh my God. You could say it was the most social media WrestleMania yet, but compared to normal times,
well,
you
of
can't.
Course it was the most social media, because nobody was physically there. They're all just sitting at home tweeting about it.
Exactly. So it's like, if I'm looking at that and I'm an investor, I'm not going to go, oh my God, they had so many people, on social media, where it's like, well, yeah, 100,000 people would have been at the stadium, and
What
then
do you mean
everyone
by
watching at
social
home.
media, by the way? Because this was 967 million video views of WrestleMania.
Yeah, so that's
what I
between
mean. Yeah.
the network, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter,
Like,
all
overall.
the clips. Yeah, they didn't
Combined.
have 1 billion people tune in to watch WrestleMania on the network.
Yeah, no. So it's like, yeah, it's like,
they meant like tweets though, like as in people tweeting about it.
that too. I'm sure that's included as well.
Yeah, that. Any little video clips of it, is what they're counting.
I just think that's like a cop out. I mean, the NFL did it the other day too, Grant. We were talking about that earlier, where you're like, but there's nothing on TV. So, like, how can you, Grant, you're going to be the highest, this is going to be the highest ratings you're ever getting, because there's nothing else to watch. Like, so it's like, it's hard to, like, for next year when everything's go back to normal, you can't go, oh, but last year you had 1 billion. Why don't you have that this year? It's like, because the world went back to normal, and, normal.
What I find interesting is the fact that they're actually doing really well compared to the same time last year, which is usually a super profitable time for them post WrestleMania. So the fact that with all this going on post WrestleMania, they're doing much better than what they would be making with live shows, with live events, like you said, Josh, all that craziness. So it's interesting to see how it's really going to change the landscape of their business.
Yeah, they still have to get rid of people, which is a weird thing to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also want to add in here, the company said that they have available cash and debt capacity of $500 million. All right. And Vince McMahon actually said, we have no debt. Cash is king. Maybe we are not taking any unnecessary risks.
So why isn't he paying Oliver?
So why do we fire everybody?
Daddy?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Like,
Okay.
And like, because it really could have been like, why didn't they just go to those people and go, listen, we're gonna have to cut your salary, but we're gonna keep you on payroll till this is over, and then when it's over, we're gonna let you go, probably. Like, I don't know. There are so many ways they could have done this to make it better, but
Yeah. Well, also, let's keep in mind that here's some interesting stats. Media rights are accounted for 88% of WWE's quarterly revenue, or $256.6 million. And then live events, $17.5 million. And consumer products are $16.9 million. So there's been a decline of 33% and 19%, respectively, from the year ago quarter. Just so you guys have like an idea. The consumer products, I believe, are where the decline is. Obviously, makes sense.
I'm not shopping on the WWE shop right now.
They're not selling as much merch and products as they have been when I'm sure there's live events going on. So it makes sense that it went down from 33 to 19%. Interesting. Okay, so in lighter news and some more positive news,
please,
something really cool that's going on is during this coronavirus pandemic that's hitting the globe, there are a few Mexican wrestlers that are sewing lucha libre face masks. Now we know that this coronavirus has been also hitting Mexico City hard. And there were about, I want to say, as of like recently, in the most recent few days, it was reported that there was over 9,500 confirmed cases in Mexico. So it's definitely required in Mexico City to wear masks when outdoors right now. And so in honor of that, like new law, that's the stipulation when you go outside. We know that lucha libre is a way that wrestlers, I mean, it's huge in Mexico City, and wrestlers in Mexico dating back over like centuries, and competitors wearing these like colorful masks and hiding like their identity. It's like a tradition over there. So they have decided to create these masks out of like inspiration of lucha libre gear to give to different people that want to order it, I'm sure online, and they'll ship it to you. So El Santo is one of those wrestlers that these ideas are inspired. He's one of the greatest in history. He died in the 80s, but like some of these designs are based off like him. And so El Hijo de Soberano is not able to work. He's a fighter, so he's one of these people making these face masks. It's really cool. If you guys are interested in checking them out, you can definitely look up the designs. They're only about 50 Mexican pesos, which is equivalent to $1.50 each from, I think, let's see, Gray Cat, if you want to order from Gray Cat. And then from the other wrestler, let's see, the ones that have inspirational designs from El Santo and Blue Demon. They sell for 150 Mexican pesos, which is about €5 each. So you can look that up online and order it, and they're shipping across Central America and the US. So pretty cool. I think it's pretty fun if you're a huge wrestling fan to like kind of get different types of protective gear so that you can go out in style. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Wrestlers doing things to make income, but also give back.
Yeah, it's great, and there should be more doing so around the world. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and there are plenty of wrestlers in other countries that also wear masks. That is just like, oh, well, you know what? You help design these type of things, or whatever the case might be for specific wrestling companies. Do it. Help, do things to help give back. Obviously, a number of performers already are doing it. This is a great example of it, but there can be more. There could always be more with everything going on right now.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Now I'm going to bring you back to not so great news again.
No!
Sorry, guys.
Hi there.
We'll end off on a positive note, I promise. WWE's Velveteen Dream is denying allegations that he sent explicit photos to minors. Now, the whole story is that, according also to a Wrestling Inc. article by Mark Middleton, a user on Reddit posted a screenshot of a conversation that they had with Dream through Instagram direct messages. Now, per H. Jenkins of Ringside News, the Reddit user said they were 17 years old and they posted a censored version of an explicit photo they said Dream had sent to them. Now, the Reddit user wondered whether Dream's account had been hacked, but said a phone conversation occurred and that the caller sounded like Dream. The user said their friends had also sent explicit messages. Per Jenkins, the post has since been deleted from Reddit. Now, Clark, who's Dream, is insisting that it wasn't a photo he ever approved to send. He didn't send it, that somebody probably hacked into his account. Do you guys think that Dream actually had these conversations? Or do you think, yeah, his account was definitely hacked, or maybe this wasn't even a legit conversation between Dream and this person, and somebody just was able to get these photos, that were, kept private on his files or phone or whatever, and were able to get those and then release it? What do you think's the story here?
Yeah, you never know. It's always a super, super tricky subject. I don't want to touch too much on it, but I hope that it works out for everybody in the best. I hope that Dream wasn't hacked, and if he was hacked, that's good because he didn't really do it. And I hope that the truth comes to light because it's very, very scary. And I'm just going to stop right there. I'm just not going to say anything else.
It's the one thing, guys, obviously we know nothing yet. It's a matter of more and more evidence or documents, being released if they are ever. But one thing that definitely sticks out to me is I saw Velveteen's tweet about it before I even know what it was about. So to me, the fact that came out so early, and the fact that it was just like I was trying to look up, wait, what is he tweeting about? Why is he saying these are false or da da da? I'm like, I don't even know what it is. And eventually I was like, oh, this is interesting. That he was so far ahead of it makes me hope that he was hacked. So he's just trying to clear his name as soon as possible. But obviously, there's only so much that we can comment on without getting all the facts at this point. And I hope, just A, for his sake as a performer, and B, for just his sake as a good person, that it was hacked, or that whoever the person was lying to him about their age.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a thing of like we have to wait and see what happens. I also think it's if he was hacked, it's not different than any of the other celebrities out there that get their stuff hacked, which I think is real messed up. Like if it's a girl sending a picture to her boyfriend, and yet somehow because she's a celebrity, someone hacks on their phone and tries to it's just all messed up. It's just such a weird situation, and it's like such a weird. It's a messed up violation of people where, if it's your boyfriend or girlfriend, granted, I mean, taking a picture is stupid, but I mean, it's just one of those where you're like, that's technology of the day, and that's what people do sometimes. So it's like,
what are we gonna learn?
And we've seen over these last few years, seen a lot of wrestlers. It happened to Seth Rollins. It happened to Paige. It happened. Yes, Bryant. I understand you're wearing a Seth Rollins shirt.
Hello.
Tony's allegedly happened.
Is that why you wore that shirt today?
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, it happened. I think it happened to Becky too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, there's been a number of them that somehow this is hacked, and you would think after the first one they'd be like, I'm gonna stop taking photos and videos of myself, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish they would also release what phone that they use, because if you're on an iPhone or you're using like a cloud, like I want to know where the security breaches are. But in this case, my opinion is that there's a possibility he didn't do this and he was hacked also. In his tweet that he put out, he said, I am working with a third party to look into this matter. So the fact that he's even doing that, to me, says like maybe he's trying to investigate further to find out like how this person was able to do this if it wasn't him, and where maybe their IP address comes from. Like I know if like, let's say, because I was having flashes when you guys were speaking your opinions, let's say this was a court case and I was like the attorney or something. If I was going to defend Dream in this case, I would say, well, if this direct message went out at a certain time of day, where were you at the time this was sent? Where did this ping from? Where was the IP address? Like, do you have an alibi? Were you at a WWE performance taping show? And then you were performing at that time. So like, clearly you couldn't have done that. So we would know like that at that time that it was sent, it definitely couldn't have been him. So maybe that's what he's doing right now, is like looking into a third party to see like where this message originated from, as in like if it was hacked, like did the message get sent from a Canadian like IP address, or somewhere in North Dakota? I don't know. I'm just making up like places, but you can look into that.
Shout out North Dakota.
Yeah. So random.
But yeah, I think the fact that he is getting ahead of it, or at least he's reaching out and trying to work with either the police or something, makes it seem like he's trying to get this resolved as fast as he can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our last story of the day is another Kevin Owens story. If you guys remember, there was a Raw episode where Kevin Owens had a pie thrown in his in his face. And he recently did an interview with a 10-year-old on the AJ Awesome show. So shout out to this 10-year-old journalist who got KO as a guest.
Man, I can't get KO on Josh Talks, and this 10-year-old is getting him. That's not fair.
Listen, the 10-year-old probably has connections.
I guess so. I guess so.
So pretty much Kevin said the only answer I can give people is that in the end, even if it wasn't him who physically did it, the one who ultimately threw the pie at me is Vince McMahon, Owens explained, because he's the one who decided that pie was going to hit me in the face, and he wasn't there physically to do it, but he's the one who made it happen. That would be the answer to who threw the pie in Kevin Owens' face. If you guys want to check out that episode, it's episode 109, and it's on the AJ Awesome show. So yeah, that concludes Wrestling Wrap of the Week. Please put your comments down below and let us know what you think about all of these stories that we talked about today and your opinions on them. And if you have any, things that you want to share or talk about.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap this show up now. Make sure, let us know your thoughts on the Wrestling Wrap. Let us know your thoughts on SmackDown. Let us know just, your thought. Let us know how you're doing. We want to see how you're doing, guys. We want to make sure you're well. You're staying indoors. You're washing your hands. You're staying safe. You're hanging out with all of us. We appreciate all of you. And you can keep talking to us on various forms of social media. Brian, how can people reach out to you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok as the Brian Santos, and on AfterBuzz TV's Quarantine with the Stars.
All right, Tom Connolly.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TomTheCom. Check out my Etsy store, Connolly Central. Still selling stuff there. And I'm also still making shields for healthcare workers. So go check out 3dagentsofshield.com if you want to donate.
All right, Gabby.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Gabby Loren TV. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I recently began a self-development podcast that talks about spirituality with a dose of Torah in there. So if you want to learn more, no matter what your background is or how you feel about spirituality, please definitely connect on there. I have a really cool interview coming up the week after this with a human rights activist and Jewish activist. So it's going to be super cool to hear from him.
All right. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh_Tariff. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube page, youtube.com/Josh Tariff. Check out these recap shows are on there, as well as Josh Talks, my one-on-one interviews with various wrestlers. This coming Tuesday is part 1 of 2 with the legendary Al Snow. So you don't want to miss that. So check that out. And of course, for all your other gossip that you want to know through the world of AfterBuzz, follow them on Twitter at AfterBuzzTV. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. For Gabby Loren and Brian Santos and Tom Connolly, I'm Josh Tariff, and we will see you later.